Former acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe argues that the president is dishonest in his new book, The Threat: How the FBI Protects America in the Age of Terror and Trump. McCabe writes, quote, "The president exposes himself as a deliberate liar, someone who will say whatever he pleases to get whatever he wishes. If he were on the box at Quantico, meaning an FBI lie detector, he would break the machine." Andrew McCabe is here in Studio 57. Good morning.
Good morning, John.
Before we get to the president, I want to ask you about the Mueller report.
Sure.
So it might come out or it might be delivered as early as next week to the Justice Department. You write in your book about handling the Hillary Clinton email investigation and the internal deliberations over how to report your findings to the public.
That's right.
Reflecting on that experience, how do you think the Mueller report should be handled when it's handed over?
Well, I think it's very easy to compare the two at the kind of headline approach, but obviously the circumstances are fundamentally different. I know that many people had issues with the way that we handled the July announcement of our investigative results in the Hillary Clinton case. So that's something I'm sure that the folks at the Justice Department will be thinking about as they decide what to do with this report. I can say that from my own perspective, I think it's imperative that the report is shared in its most robust form, first and foremost with Congress. And I think that following that, the American people have a right to know as much information as is possible that can come out from the report.
But Rod Rosenstein this week made headlines when he said that transparency doesn't always work best when it comes to government revelations. Do you support what he said? And do you think that he was alluding to the Mueller report not being seen by the public or even Congress?
Well, I think Rod was referring to the longtime DOJ policy or practice of not sharing facts and circumstances of cases that are not charged. And that certainly is the precedent and the tradition. But as we know, we also have a Justice Department that has many examples of departing from precedent and tradition in the recent past. I think that the incredibly extensive sharing of not just report conclusions, but FBI underlying investigative materials in the Hillary Clinton case, sharing at an unprecedented rate with the Hill. Those are decisions made by the Department of Justice, and I think they'll have a tough time reconciling that act with the Deputy Attorney General's statements.
Mr. McCabe, the country watched Michael Cohen testify to Congress, congressional oversight this week. Did you find him a credible witness?
Well, Mr. Cohen clearly has some significant credibility problems. I mean, it's not often that you hear a witness testify who's already pled guilty to lying to Congress. But it's, I think, important to note, Alex, that prosecutors and agents have a lot of experience working with witnesses that have credibility problems. And the way that you rehabilitate those witnesses is you let them tell their story, but then you back that story up with corroborating information, corroborating evidence. The thing I found fascinating by Michael Cohen's statements was the amount of exactly that sort of corroborating information that he referred to and maybe revealed in his testimony. So there's a lot there. I wouldn't dismiss Mr. Cohen as a witness who would be unhelpful to any sort of prosecutorial efforts simply by virtue of his guilty plea in his own case.
You write in the book that the president is a threat to the nation. Part of that is what you identify as his lack of candor. What do you mean by that?
I think that the president's relentless attacks on the FBI and on the intelligence community writ large make the job of protecting this country and keeping our citizens safe harder every day in many, many ways. There's the obvious overt attacks on things like recruiting cooperating witnesses and ongoing prosecutions, techniques that are absolutely lawful and in some ways form the bedrock of our ability to be successful in big, complicated cases, all the way down to just the constant undermining of the work that the men and women of the FBI do every day, referring to investigations as baseless witch hunts and things like that. It is dispiriting. I think it erodes their ability to get in the game and do the job every day, and it erodes public confidence in the work that they do, which is not helpful.
Let me ask you about the news overnight that the president reportedly intervened on behalf of Jared Kushner to get him a top secret security clearance. Did you know about this, given the fact that the FBI conducts background checks? And how unusual is it for a president to intervene on behalf of somebody?
So my knowledge of this situation is limited to the reporting that I've seen today. But I will say, in my own experience, I have been involved with high-level security clearance matters for many years. I have never seen a president or an administration react to the recommendation of the professionals in this way. There's a question that the president has the ability, the power to do exactly what is alleged in the article. But I think it's one more example that people should take very seriously. The mere fact that the president has the authority to act in this way doesn't necessarily make it a good idea. There is a very detailed, thoughtful, careful process in place to ensure that security clearances are only given to people under optimal circumstances. When that process results in a negative recommendation, that is something that I have always seen administrations adhere to.
Recruitment is down at the FBI over the past 10 years, specifically over the past few years for top special agents. How much of any of that do you attribute to the president constantly attacking the FBI?
You know, I don't have the facts and figures to support that, but I mean, it's undeniable. It doesn't help. And the fact is, we need a consistent supply of the best and brightest young minds that this country has to offer across the vast spectrum of talent that we have to draw from to ensure that this incredibly important work gets done effectively every day, not just today, but into the future. And that is very troubling to me.
As we talk about reliability and reliable narrators, it is important to bring up that the Inspector General report that justified your firing from the FBI says you, quote, lacked candor on 4 separate occasions. What does that mean? Did you lie? And should the American public believe what you have to say in terms of your assessment of the landscape?
They should. They should. I would love to sort through that report with you. I disagree with the conclusions contained therein. What I can tell you, Alex, is I never deliberately misled anyone, not in the accounts that they relate in that report and not in any others. I'm very proud of the 21 years I spent serving in the FBI, serving this nation. I did so with an absolutely unblemished record until the point at which the president decided to start attacking me publicly. So I have deep disagreements with that report. I would ask the American people to judge me on the work that I've done over the course of that career.
Really quickly, do you think the president is going to finish his term?
I think that the overwhelming likelihood is that he will.
Andrew McCabe, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.